There's a very famous mashal which the Rebbe gives in the Siches. He quotes the previous Rebbe as having given this mashal in the Sicha. The context that the Rebbe uses is the difference between Rishonim and Achronim. And the mashal goes like this. Two people walk into a dark room. The room is complex with much furniture and chairs and other kind of furnishings. And of course, there are a series of doors which lead you into other rooms. So you're in this very dark room and you want to get out. So of course, if you have a match, you strike the match, you can see the whole room. You have a natural sense of the perspectives of everything, meaning to say you see the relationship between the chair and the tables and the sofa and the couch and the other pieces of furnishings, and you can also identify a door. You go to the door and you leave. If a person walks into that room and doesn't have matches, so then they're forced by circumstance to tap. And they tap and tap and tap and tap and tap and tap. They encounter a chair, they encounter a table, they encounter what seems like an opening that turns out to be a window. Then they encounter a door which turns out to be a dud or goes into a closet, until they finally encounter a door that allows them to leave the room. Now, of course, the purpose of this mashal is to illustrate that when you can see things, things are very, very clear, and two advantages exist. Namely, you see the perspective or the relative relationship of the various different aspects found in the room. And secondly, you know exactly where the exit is. While when you're tapping, firstly, you have no sense of perspective of the relative place of the various components in the room, and you have to feel your way around. And secondly, you have to grope and grapple until you find the exit. However, there is something to be said for the tapper versus the seer. In other words, there is an advantage to one who doesn't have clarity and is forced by default to tap and tap and tap and tap, and to identify a chair, identify a table, identify a sofa and a couch and so forth, until he finds the exit. And that is that because of the darkness, because of the lack of clarity, you are forced to notice the kind of nuance, the kind of subtlety, the kind of detail that you simply would never see if you could see. It's like the difference between the blind person and the seeing person. Blind people compensate for their lack of vision with feel. And you give a blind person a pen or a piece of jewelry or even a piece of food, they will appreciate with touch, subtlety, texture, nuance that a seeing person will simply never be able to identify, because they see it directly, they see it clearly, and they see it simply. So put this mashal on a low shelf. Keep it readily accessible and available, because it is incredibly relevant to this reminder.